I am Rägnar, and tonight I shall guide you on this journey deep into a universe that transcends the boundaries of the whimsical and the metaphysical. Today, we shall uncover the tale of the Witch-King of Angmar and his spectral brethren, the Nazgûl. Ah, I see you've arrived here, traveler, perhaps from distant lands, with the weight of past adventures upon your shoulders. Are you weary? Lost amid the veils of reality? Come, sit with me by the crackling fire of this ethereal inn, nestled in the misty hills of Middle-earth. Let the warmth of the flames chase away the chill of the night, and allow my voice to envelop you like a soft cloak woven from elven threads. Here, the stories are not mere words. They are portals to realms where the impossible becomes tangible, where light and shadow entwine in eternal dance. Prepare to delve in. Excellent. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let us begin this voyage through the annals of Arda, where ancient rings awaken from their slumber and forgotten kings rise as wraiths in the dark. In the vast tapestry of Middle-earth's second age, where the seas whispered secrets to the shores of Numenor, there lived a man of noble blood, a king whose name has long faded into the mists of time, much like the island kingdom itself. He was no ordinary ruler, no, but one whose heart burned with ambition, a fire that Sauron, the deceiver, would soon fan into an inferno. Imagine him, if you will, standing tall upon the marble halls of Armenelos, his eyes gleaming with the promise of eternal power, his thoughts a whirlwind of conquest and legacy. The narrator knows, dear listener, that in those hidden chambers of his mind, he dreamed not just of thrones, but of dominion over death itself, a philosophical quandary we all face, don't we? For what is life, if not a fleeting choice between light and shadow, a decision that echoes through eternity? As the sun set over the western waves, Sauron approached in disguise, bearing gifts forged in the fires of Mount Doom, 9 rings for mortal men, doomed to die, or so the ancient verse goes. But oh, how that philology reveals layers, doesn't it? The word Nazgûl, derived from the black speech, Naz, meaning ring, and Gûl, evoking wraith or spirit, whispers of bondage, a linguistic trap as binding as the rings themselves. Our king, let's call him Eormur in this tale, inspired by those Númenórean lords of old, accepted his ring with eager hands, unaware of the invisible chains it wove. At first, it granted him visions of glory, armies kneeling, lands expanding, life extended beyond the span of men. But the narrator sees what he could not, the subtle erosion of his soul, the way the ring twisted his desires, turning noble aspirations into insatiable greed. Philosophy teaches us, friend, that power corrupts not suddenly, but like a slow poison, seeping into the cracks of our choices. Have you ever wondered, in your own quiet moments, how a single decision might alter your path forever? It's a reflection worth carrying, like a lantern in the dark. The years blurred, and Eormur's kingdom flourished under the ring's influence, yet shadows lengthened in his halls. He conquered rivals, amassed treasures, but his reflection in the mirror grew faint, his voice hollow. The other 8, kings and sorcerers from distant realms, felt the same pull, their fates intertwining like threads in Ilúvatar's grand song. Sauron, from his hidden forge, smiled, knowing the one ring bound them all. Metalinguistically speaking, this story mirrors our own lives, doesn't it? We weave narratives of control, only to find ourselves ensnared by unseen forces, perhaps a habit, a fear, or a dream deferred. As the Second Age waned, wars raged, elves and men allied against Sauron, the last alliance forming like a storm on the horizon. Ermurasor, now fading into wraithdom, rode at Sauron's side, his humanity slipping away like sand through fingers. The battle at Dagorlad was fierce, blades clashing, cries echoing, but the narrator foresees the defeat, Sauron's fall, the ring's power dimmed, yet not destroyed. In that chaos, our king vanished into shadow, biding time, his essence preserved by the ring's dark magic. Nostalgia tugs here, for who hasn't longed for lost glory? Yet wisdom whispers, true strength lies in letting go. As the age turned, questions lingered. What becomes of a man who trades his soul for eternity? Relax now, let the fire's glow soothe you, for the shadows deepen, and our tale presses on. Ah, but the fall was not swift. No, it crept like twilight over the hills of Middle-earth, enveloping Ermurasor and his 8 companions in a veil of eternal night. The rings, those insidious circles of power, promised immortality, yet delivered a curse far crueler, a half-life, neither living nor dead, where the body fades, but the will endures, bound to Sauron's malice. Picture them, these once mighty men, gathering in secret enclaves, their forms growing translucent, their voices reduced to chilling whispers that send shivers through the bravest hearts. The narrator peers into their minds, revealing the turmoil, regret mingled with defiance, a philosophical battle between free will and fate. For isn't existence itself a ring, circling back on choices we cannot escape? In our daily lives, we too wear invisible rings, habits that bind, fears that enslave. What if, listener, you examined your own? Philologically, the term ring wraith echoes ancient tongues. Wraith, from Old English wraith, meaning twisted or angry spirit, a word that captures their tormented essence, twisted by Sauron's craft. Ermurasor, now the foremost among them, felt the change deepest. His crown, once of gold, now seemed a hollow burden, his thoughts consumed by Sauron's commands. The deceiver had forged the One Ring in secrecy, binding all others, and as Sauron fell in the War of the Last Alliance, defeated by Isildur's blade, the Nazgûl scattered like leaves in the wind. But the narrator knows their survival was assured, hidden in the shadows of Mordor, waiting for their master's return. Curiosity builds here, doesn't it? How does one endure centuries of emptiness? They haunted forgotten ruins, spreading dread, their black breath a miasma of despair, felling those who dared approach. In this void, Ermurasor's ambition twisted further, morphing into a hunger for dominion, his human regrets buried under layers of spectral rage. Metalinguistically, this transformation is a mirror to storytelling itself. We craft heroes from flawed men, but villains emerge from unchecked desires, much like how our own narratives shape our realities. As the Third Age dawned, Sauron stirred again, his spirit reforming in Dol Guldur, and he summoned his servants. The 9 reunited, their forms cloaked in black, mounted on steeds as dark as midnight. Ermurasor, emerging as their lord, felt a surge of purpose, yet the narrator senses the hollowness, a philosophical void, reminding us that true fulfillment comes not from power, but from connection. War simmered in the north, alliances fractured, and the Nazgûl became Sauron's unseen blades, infiltrating courts, sowing discord. One by one, the other rings bearers fully succumbed, a eastern Khan, a southern warlord, each losing their names to the collective shadow. Nostalgia for their mortal days flickered faintly, like dying embers, but authority, Sauron's iron will crushed it. Have you felt that pull, friend, in your own choices? Wisdom lies in resistance. As centuries passed, the stage set for Angmar's rise. The air grew colder. Whispers of a Witch King spread. Relax. Let the story's rhythm lull you, for the shadows gather, and greater trials await. With the Third Age unfolding like a weathered scroll, the northern wilds of Eriador stirred under a gathering storm, where Ermorasor, now fully the Witch King, claimed his dark throne in the frozen peaks. Angmar, name that chills the bone, rose from the mists. Angmar, philologically rooted in Sindarin, Ang for iron and Mar for home, evoking a fortress of unyielding dread, much like how words in our world carry hidden weights, shaping our perceptions of fear and safety. The narrator glimpses his hidden motives, not mere conquest, but a calculated erosion of hope, targeting the splintered kingdoms of Rägnar, descendants of his own Númenórean kin. Philosophy ponders this irony, betraying one's blood for power, a reflection on how we sometimes sabotage our roots in pursuit of illusions. Isn't it curious, listener, how history repeats in our lives? He built Carn Dûm, a citadel of jagged spires, an endless night, rallying orcs, trolls, and hillmen under his banner, his presence a shadow that blotted the stars. The other Nazgûl served as his captains, their black breath spreading plague and terror, weakening borders. In the halls of Fornost, the kings of Arthedain whispered of a sorcerer king, but the narrator knows the truth. Ermorasor's ring amplified his sorcery, allowing him to summon blizzards, command wights, and instill despair that drove men mad. Metalinguistically, this realm is a narrative device, a symbol of isolation, much like how stories isolate villains to heighten their menace, teaching us about our own inner isolations. As wars ignited, Rudor fell first, his lords corrupted, Cardolan crumbled under siege, and Arthedain stood defiant, yet Freyan. The Witch King's campaigns were relentless, his mace shattering shields, his voice a wail that echoed doom. Nostalgia for Númenor's glory haunted him faintly, a philosophical spark of what if, but authority, Sauron's distant command, fueled his rage. Alliances formed against him, elves from Lindon, men from Gondor, but the narrator foresees the toll, lives lost in snow-swept battles. Questions arise here, don't they? What drives a being to such destruction? Perhaps it's the void within, a lesson in seeking inner peace amid chaos. As Angmar's power peaked around TA 1300, the north trembled, kingdoms fractured, and the Witch King's legend grew, a specter promising endless winter. Yet, in this awakening, seeds of downfall were sown, prophecies unspoken, heroes rising. Relax deeper now. Let the tale's pauses cradle you, for the wars intensify and shadows lengthen further. As the chill winds of Angmar howled through the fractured lands of Eriador, the Witch King unleashed his fury upon the remnants of Arnor, his spectral form a harbinger of unending winter, where battles raged not just with steel, but with the very essence of despair. Picture the snow-swept fields, dear listener, where armies clashed under leaden skies, the air thick with the cries of the fallen, and the black breath weaving through ranks like a silent assassin. The narrator delves into Ermorazor's mind, once a king's, now a vortex of calculated malice, driven by a twisted philosophy. Power as the ultimate truth, eclipsing all bonds of kinship, a reflection on how we, too, sometimes prioritize ambition over humanity, don't we? For in life's wars, internal or external, choices define us, much like the rings bound these wraiths. Philologically, Arnor, from Sindarin Arnen, meaning royal land, evokes a lost nobility, a word that contrasts sharply with Angmar's iron grip, reminding us how language preserves echoes of glory, even in ruin, something to ponder in our own vocabularies of hope and loss. The Witch-King's forces overran Rudar, corrupting its hills with Barrow-wights. Spectral guardians risen from ancient tombs, their moans a lullaby of terror. Cardolan fell next, its watchtowers crumbling under troll assaults, while Arthedain held, its king Arvedui, rallying with desperate valor. The other Nazgûl, shadows of forgotten lords, flanked their master, their mounts thundering across frozen rivers, spreading plague and fear. Metalinguistically, these wars serve as a narrative arc of escalation, building tension like a storyteller's deliberate pause, mirroring how our personal conflicts intensify if unchecked, teaching restraint as wisdom's gift. In the pivotal Battle of Fornost, around TA 1975, Gondor's armies arrived, led by Rägnar, with elven aid from Lindon, their banners a flicker of light against the encroaching dark. The Witch-King, astride his fell beast, wielded sorcery that darkened the sun, his mace felling scores, but the narrator foresees the turn. Glorfindel, the golden-haired elf lord, charging forth, his blade a streak of starlight. Defeat loomed, not by death, but by flight, as Glorfindel prophesied, "Not by the hand of man will he fall," words heavy with fate's irony. Curiosity stirs here, doesn't it? What hidden meanings lie in such omens? Nostalgia for Arnor's golden days fueled the victors, yet authority, Sauron's lingering shadow, ensured the Witch-King's escape to Mordor, his realm shattered, but his essence intact. Philosophy whispers that true victory comes not in conquest, but in enduring light amid darkness. As the North gasped for breath, questions lingered. How long until the shadows regroup? Relax. Let the tale's rhythm steady your breath, for retreat brings new machinations, and the story weaves onward. From the ashes of Angmar's defeat, the Witch-King slithered back to the shadowed vales of Mordor, where Sauron's will reformed like smoke from embers, and there, in the poisoned heart of Minas Ithil, a new bastion of horror took shape. Imagine the once fair tower, bathed in moonlight, now twisted into Minas Morgul, its walls glowing with sickly luminescence, a beacon of dread that drew lost souls like moths to flame. The narrator uncovers Murazor's concealed resolve, a simmering vengeance, philosophically akin to resentment's poison, which festers if not released. A lesson for us all, friend, in forgiving to free ourselves, lest we become wraiths of our own making. Philologically, Morgul stems from black speech, mor for black and ghoul for sorcery, a term that encapsulates dark magic's allure, much like how words in our languages carry dual edges of beauty and peril, inviting reflection on the power we wield in speech. By TA 2002, the Witch-King besieged the city, his Nazgûl brethren encircling it with rings of shadow, their black breath sapping the defender's will. Gondor's line faltered, King Eärnil slain earlier, and Rägnar, proud and rash, challenged the specter, only to vanish into torment, ending the royal bloodline. Metalinguistically, this capture is a pivotal twist, transforming a symbol of hope into despair, akin to how stories subvert expectations to deepen immersion, mirroring life's unexpected turns that test our resilience. Under the Witch-King's rule, Minas Morgul became a forge of nightmares. Gardens withered into thorny wastes, rivers ran black, and fell beasts nested in spires, their screeches a symphony of unrest. The Nine patrolled its borders, recruiting Easterlings and Haradrim, their thoughts a collective hive of obedience, haunted by fleeting mortal memories. Nostalgia for Numenor's sunlit shores pricked Eärmurasor faintly, but authority crushed it, Sauron's commands absolute. The narrator senses the growing storm, Sauron's power swelling, the One Ring stirring far away. Curiosity beckons, what lurks in such fortresses of the soul? Wisdom advises guarding our inner citadels against corruption. As centuries slipped by, Minas Morgul stood as a wound in the world, its lord plotting the final wars, the air heavy with impending doom. Breathe easy now. Let the narrative's pauses soothe, for the hunt begins, and shadows hunt the light. In the waning years of the Third Age, as whispers of the One Ring echoed through the hidden corners of Middle-earth, the Witch-King and his Nazgûl embarked on a relentless pursuit, their cloaked forms slicing through the night like blades of fate. Envision the Shire's green hills, unsuspecting and serene, suddenly pierced by the chill of black riders, their steeds' hooves silent thunder, seeking the bearer of ultimate power. The narrator reveals Eärmurasor's inner calculus, a desperate urgency, philosophically tied to the illusion of control, reminding us that chasing external treasures often blinds us to inner wealth. Have you chased such phantoms in your own journey, listener? Philologically, Shire, from Old English, Sir, meaning district or care, evokes a pastoral haven, a word contrasting the Nazgûl's invasive dread, highlighting how language roots us in places of peace, a simple truth to cherish amid chaos. Sauron, from Dol Guldur, dispatched them, the Witch-King leading, his senses attuned to the ring's call. They crossed rivers, interrogated travelers, their black breath leaving victims in frozen terror, a miasma that mirrored despair's grip. In Bree, shadows lurked in inns, but the quarry, Frodo Baggins, the unassuming hobbit, slipped away, guarded by Aragorn's vigilance. Metalinguistically, this hunt is the story's rising action, a chase narrative that builds suspense, much like how our life stories unfold in pursuits, teaching patience as the true path to discovery. At Weathertop, the climax struck. The Nazgûl encircled the camp, the Witch-King's Morgul knife piercing Frodo's shoulder, a wound that gnawed at the soul, turning flesh to shadow. The narrator knows the hobbit's terror, his mind fraying, yet resilience sparked, a philosophical triumph of small over mighty. The others fled the flood, summoned by Elrond, but the seed of darkness was planted. Nostalgia for simpler times fueled Frodo's fight, while authority drove the Witch-King onward, regrouping in Mordor. Questions swirl. What if One Ring rules them all in our lives? Wisdom suggests breaking free. As the War of the Ring loomed, the hunt intensified, fell beasts taking wing, the air alive with peril. Settle deeper. Let the tales flow carry you, for battles brew and the Nine draw near. Amid the gathering storm of the War of the Ring, the Nazgûl revealed their full, eerie unity. 9 shadows bound in eternal servitude, each a fractured echo of mortal grandeur. Their collective presence, a symphony of dread that chilled the bones of Middle-earth. Envision them, dear listener, gliding through Mordor's ashen wastes, cloaked in black, their forms invisible, save for the gleam of eyes like dying coals, whispering strategies in tongues long forgotten. The narrator penetrates their veiled thoughts, a shared void, where individual ambitions dissolved into Sauron's hive, philosophically illustrating how isolation breeds conformity, a reminder that in our lives, true individuality thrives in connection, not domination. Don't you see it in your own circles? Philologically, Nazgûl breaks down to Nask for ring and Gûl for wraith in Black speech, a constructed language by Tolkien that embodies corruption, much like how words in our world, like ghost, from Old English ghast, meaning spirit, carry ancestral fears we inherit and reinterpret for personal growth. Khamûl, the shadow of the East, second to the Witch King, once a Khan of Rhûn, harbored lingering pride, his mind flickering with memories of steppe conquests, yet bent to Eir Murasô's will. The others, nameless in lore, but imagined as southern warlords or northern sorcerers, formed a spectral council, their black breath a weapon of psychological warfare, felling foes without a blade. Metalinguistically, they function as ensemble antagonists, amplifying the hero's journey, akin to how supporting characters in stories reflect our own supporting roles in life, urging us to question whose narrative we serve. In missions across Eriador and beyond, they scouted, infiltrated, and terrorized their fell beasts screeching from above, sowing discord in Rohan and Gondor. The Witch King orchestrated, his authority absolute, yet the narrator senses cracks, faint nostalgias for mortal joys, suppressed by the ring's curse. Curiosity peaks. What if one broke free? Wisdom suggests rebellion starts within. As Sauron's armies massed, the Nine became his vanguard, their unity a dark mirror to the Fellowship's light. Relax, let these pauses linger, for the climax nears, and specters clash with fate. As the War of the Ring reached its thunderous peak, the fields before Minas Tirith became a cauldron of chaos, where the Witch King led Sauron's hordes in a siege that shook the very foundations of hope. His arrival, a tempest of despair, amid the clamor of war horns and clashing steel. Picture the vast plain, dear listener, strewn with banners torn and bodies fallen, the air thick with smoke, and the metallic tang of blood, as Grond, the battering ram, etched with foul runes, shattered the great gate under his command. The narrator unveils Imrazor's exultant mind, a surge of triumph, philosophically blinded by hubris, echoing how we often mistake force for victory, a lesson in humility that could reshape our daily struggles, couldn't it? Philologically, Pelennor derives from Sindarin, Pelen for fenced and Nor for land, denoting an enclosed field, a word that symbolizes boundaries tested, much like how etymologies in our languages reveal histories of defense and breach, inviting us to fortify our personal borders wisely. Mounted on his winged beast, the Witch King's sword, his mace swinging death, confronting Gandalf at the breach, their standoff a clash of light and shadow. Then Rohan's horn sounded, Theoden charging, only to fall beneath the specter's strike, his life ebbing as Éowyn, disguised as Dernhelm, stood defiant. Metalinguistically, this battle is the epic's crescendo, weaving heroism from unlikely sources, mirroring how our stories gain depth from underdogs, teaching that strength hides in vulnerability. With Merry's barrow blade piercing from behind, and Éowyn's sword thrusting true, the prophecy unfolded, not by man's hand, but woman's and hobbit's, the Witch King dissolving into nothingness, his crown clattering empty. Nostalgia for power's illusion gripped him in the end, but authority crumbled. Questions arise. What endures beyond the fall? Wisdom points to legacy's light. As the tide turned, the fields echoed with renewal, yet shadows lingered. Breathe steadily, let the narrative's calm wash over, for legacies unfold and theories beckon. In the aftermath of the Witch-King's dissolution, as the winds of change swept across Middle-earth, his legacy lingered like a persistent fog, inspiring tales and theories that wove through the ages, binding history to speculation in the minds of scholars and dreamers alike. Envision the libraries of Minas Tirith, dear listener, scrolls unfurled under flickering lamps, where lore masters pondered his origins, debating if Eärmurasor was indeed a black Númenórean, a fallen lord whose bloodline twisted toward Sauron's shadow. The narrator explores these hidden threads, a consolidated theory among fans, rooted in Tolkien's notes, suggesting his Númenórean heritage fueled his hatred for Arnor's kin. Philosophically, a caution against inherited grudges, reminding us to break cycles in our own families. Yes, philologically, Númenor, from Quenya, Numen, meaning west, and Ore, for land, evokes a sunken paradise, a word laden with loss, much like how etymologies in our world, such as Atlantis, implying vanished ideals, prompt reflections on what we salvage from ruins for personal enlightenment. Communities from ancient councils to modern forums consolidate this view. His ring-enhanced sorcery and strategic brilliance pointed to noble, corrupted roots, perhaps a king who sailed from the drowned isle, embracing darkness in Umbar's ports. Metalinguistically, theories like this enrich the narrative, turning passive tales into interactive quests, akin to how we theorize our lives' plots, fostering growth through curiosity. His fall echoed in songs, the Nazgûl's fate tied to the One Ring's destruction, their screams fading with Sauron's defeat at Mount Doom. Nostalgia for Middle-earth's unmarred days surfaced, authority's illusion shattered. Questions persist. What theories shape our realities? Wisdom urges embracing uncertainty. As legends evolved, they offered insights, corruption's void, redemption's spark. Settle in, let thoughts drift, for the tale nears its close, shadows yielding to dawn. As the embers of the War of the Ring faded into the annals of the Fourth Age, the shadows cast by the Witch-King and his Nazgûl dissolved like mist at dawn, leaving behind a world forever marked by their spectral legacy, where light reclaimed the scarred lands of Middle-earth. Envision the slopes of Mount Doom, dear listener, where the One Ring met its fiery end in the hands of Frodo and the unyielding will of fate, the Nazgûl's final shrieks echoing as their forms unraveled, unbound at last from Sauron's tyranny. The narrator beholds the profound release, Eärmurasor's essence scattering to the winds, his centuries of torment ending in oblivion, philosophically a testament to impermanence. For all power, no matter how dark, is transient, urging us to cherish fleeting moments in our own existences. Yes. What shadows do you release to embrace the light? Philologically, Arda, Tolkien's world name from Quenya roots meaning the realm, encapsulates a created cosmos, a word that invites exploration of origins, much like how Earth in English stems from Old English Eorthe, denoting ground and home, reminding us to ground our stories in meaningful foundations for personal harmony. With Sauron's fall, the remaining Nazgûl perished, their rings powerless, legacies reduced to cautionary tales in elven songs and hobbit lore. Metalinguistically, this conclusion weaves closure with openness, much like life's narratives that end chapters yet hint at new beginnings, teaching us to craft our endings with grace, fostering growth through reflection. Nostalgia for Middle-earth's trials birthed new eras. Aragorn's reign, peace in the Shire, yet whispers of ancient evils lingered in forgotten barrows. Authorities echo a warning. Questions remain. How do we honor such tales? Wisdom lies in applying their lessons. Choices shape destinies. Corruption yields to courage. As our journey ends, carry these insights, friend, into your dreams, where shadows fade and new stories await.